Welcome to SAD TV News. I am Alicia George. Thanks for joining us. In our top stories, medical specialists respond to PM's recent statement in Parliament. Local health officials monitor Ebola outbreak. From the region, Suriname's police intercepts largest shipment of cocaine so far this year. And internationally, suspected Ebola victim dies in Saudi Arabia. Details of these and other stories will follow right after the break. Welcome back. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has come under fire from the specialist medical officers at the Princess Margaret Hospital, who are alarmed by the recent statement made by him at the closing of the budget debate in Parliament on July 29, 2014.
These are guys, Madam Speaker, the taxpayers paying them, and they're out in Anguilla and Montserrat working while we paying them. That's the problem, Madam Speaker. That's the problem, Madam Speaker.
At the time, Prime Minister Skerrit was allegedly taking swipes at Dr. Irving Pascal, who in turn described the Prime Minister's remarks as threats which have to be taken seriously. The Prime Minister's statements comes following a column written by Dr. Pascal for an online newspaper published on July 27th, titled "Delivery of Quality Health Services in Dominica on a Slippery Slope." In that article, Dr. Pascal expressed grave concerns for the future delivery of healthcare services in Dominica because of the less than inspirational management of both the chikungunya epidemic and the issues at the Marigot Hospital.
There are health issues. We continue to provide better healthcare facilities, more trained doctors, more consultants, more nurses, more equipment, Madam Speaker. And I find it strange, Madam Speaker, the doctor who works there, I see him criticizing the hospital, Madam Speaker. You are the one. I'm not a doctor, Madam Speaker. You are the one paid by the taxpayers to give better health care. So if you're criticizing the Ministry of Health or the hospital, you must hold yourself responsible, IP.
In response to the Prime Minister's statement as it relates to traveling of medical officers, the specialist medical officers, in a statement issued on Wednesday, stated that as part of their private practice, some specialist medical officers travel to other islands to provide specialist services. The statement continued that the perception conveyed that they leave island and neglect their duties at the Princess Margaret Hospital is erroneous. These doctors are entitled to utilize their vacation leave to engage in any activity of their choice, including working overseas, the statement continued. According to the statement, Dominicans benefit from the expertise of specialist medical officers from other islands who are often contracted and paid by the Ministry of Health through the government of Dominica to provide specialist services in Dominica. The statement added that the limited number of specialist medical officers available to the government of the islands makes this practice necessary and acceptable, and that this is consistent with the principles of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy (CSME). The statement concluded that the specialist medical officers at the Princess Margaret Hospital would like to reassure the Dominican public that they remain committed to providing quality medical services as much as the available resources will allow. The recent outbreak of the Ebola virus in West Africa has the world paying close attention, as it has been labeled as the worst Ebola outbreak in history. Although the virus has not yet arrived in the Caribbean, health officials say we must be on the alert. International media is reporting that Ebola is in full swing and is jumping borders at an alarming rate.
Already, it has spread to 4 countries: Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and now Nigeria. This latest jump into Nigeria is particularly serious since the infected individual carried the virus by plane into Lagos, Nigeria, a city with a population of over 21 million. Doctors Without Borders has referred to the outbreak as, quote, out of control. To make matters worse, there's something very, very important that the corporate media and public health officials aren't telling you regarding this crisis. You'll notice if you read virtually any mainstream article on a topic that they make a point of insisting that Ebola is only transferred through physical contact with bodily fluids. This is not true at all. A study conducted in 2012 showed that Ebola was able to travel between pigs and monkeys that were in separate cages that were never placed in direct contact.
A report from Conscious Media News, CMN, stated although the method of transmission in the study was not officially determined, it is believed that the infection is spread through large droplets suspended in the air. This particular strain of Ebola is not Ebola Zaire, but a new strain, and may in fact be more dangerous than the Zaire variety, the report stated. According to CMN, right now the question on everyone's mind is whether this virus will spread outside of Africa. However, considering the fact that Ebola has a 3-week incubation period, it can travel through the air and has already hitchhiked onto an international flight. This is a very real possibility.
We also need to confront the fact that there isn't a full-out, coordinated international effort to contain this. This is being treated like a sideshow. This crisis has a very real potential of becoming a main event. The doctors on the ground in West Africa don't have enough staff or resources to deal with the situation.
Dominica's Chief Environmental Officer Anthony Scotland says Dominicans need to be on the alert with the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa, stressing the need to maintain a clean and pristine environment at all times. According to Scotland, the fatality rate of the disease is almost 90% with no known cure. However, there might be hope, as 2 U.S. aid workers who contracted the Ebola virus in Liberia are said to be improving after receiving an experimental treatment, ZMapp, which had never been tested in humans before. While it is not certain that ZMapp is attributable to this improvement, the treatment yielded promising results in non-human primate studies. ZMapp is actually an antibody therapy consisting of a cocktail of 3 different antidotes to the Ebola virus, and it's made within bioreactor plants. Crime Stoppers Dominica on Wednesday reported that since receiving its first tip in May 2013, it has received over 1,000 calls, which has resulted in 53 valid tips, leading to 11 arrests. Executive Director of Crime Stoppers Dominica, Genevieve Astefan, says Crime Stoppers is working and gaining the confidence of the general public because it is a safe and secure way to speak up and assist in reducing crime. Worldwide, the international organization has 1,200 programmers operating in more than 25 countries, resulting in over 800,000 arrests and recovery of billions of dollars of property and drugs. All tips, whether via 1-800-8477 or online at crimestoppersdominica.org, are answered by a call center in Canada where the information is processed. Telephone calls are free and there is no caller ID. The operators who answer the calls in Canada or who receive the web tips are professionally trained and are not interested in anyone's identity, just the information they have on a crime. The Dominica program was initiated in late 2012 with the objective of working together with the community, the media, and law enforcement to reduce crime. Crime Stoppers Dominica is made possible through private sector donations and support by the media. When we return, the Ministry of Health report on efforts to strengthen Dominica's international health regulations. Welcome back. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Helen Royer, says the work carried out in strengthening the operations of Dominica's International Health Regulations (IHR) national focal point has not gone unnoticed. She made the remark during the opening of a conference held in Dominica last week to implement international health regulations. IHR is the international legal frameworks that protect against, control, and provide a public health response to the international spread of disease in ways that are equal with the level of public health risks.
The work that has gone on this week in strengthening the operations of our IHR national focal point has not gone unnoticed by our ministry and by extension the government of Dominica.
Royer said PAHO has proven to be a very strong partner over the years, giving technical assistance in all aspects of the IHR. It has also been instrumental in assisting to establish a situation room in Dominica and continues to assist in addressing the hurdles on the roadway to the IHR targets by 2016. National epidemiologist Dr. Paul Ricketts said members of the IHR shared valuable expertise that would assist Dominica in receiving and responding to international communication regarding health threats.
The IHR national focal points have a great deal of experience in the implementation of the IHR, and they basically brought their expertise in developing standard operating procedures for the operations of the national focal point to share with us.
Dr. Ricketts added that Dominica is in the best position to meet the IHR's objective by the year 2016.
One of the strengths that we have, and we've reiterated during this week, is a strong intersectoral collaboration in Dominica, so that we on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, have communication not just within the Ministry of Health, but between the Ministry of Health and other key ministries and agencies.
Since December 2005, Dominica has been in pursuit of fulfilling the obligations under the international health regulations. The government of Dominica and the International Development Association (IDA) has agreed to enter into 2 highly concessionary loan agreements with authorization from the Parliament of Dominica. Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit had moved a motion in Parliament on Tuesday, July 29th, seeking authorization for a loan facility from the IDA for funding for the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. The Parliament subsequently authorized that agreement. The main aim of the project is to seek to reduce Dominica's vulnerability to natural disasters and climate change impacts through investments in infrastructure as well as improved hazard data collection and monitoring. Loan 1 is in the amount of $24,300,000 and has a 10-year grace period at an interest rate of 0.1% per annum, while Loan 2 is in the amount of $45,818,300 with a 10-year grace period at an interest rate of 0.75%. Both loans will have 60 semi-annual repayments commencing August 1, 2024. Under the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, comprehensive interventions and improvements to infrastructure will take place in Port-Cassé to Bois-Diable, Bois-Diable to Cassabrousse, Cassabrousse to Petite-Soufrière, Cassabrousse to Hatton-Garden, including the Carib Territory and Atkinson. And Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Right Honourable Dr. Denzil L. Douglas, says in order to implement successful strategies against HIV and AIDS, there must be a greater focus on small island developing states SIDS. The Prime Minister made the remark while addressing the topic HIV and Small Island States post-2015. What are the key messages for the SIDS? At the recently concluded 20th International AIDS Conference in Melbourne, Australia.
It requires a focus on small island developing states, SIDS, most of which experience the same socio-economic challenges of developing states, most times created in the developing world, but with much greater intensity, ranging from global financial crisis to climate change, and with less resources and capacity.
In attendance at the conference were world leaders, activists, celebrities, and experts from 180 countries, including Prime Minister of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, whose government recently hosted an international health regulation conference. According to Prime Minister Douglas, SIDS suffer particular vulnerabilities that place them in a position where they need to be specifically addressed. Prime Minister Douglas further referenced a statement made by UN AIDS Executive Director Michael Sidibe, which emphasized that revolutionizing the AIDS response means leaving no one behind. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis believes that this can only happen if the necessary programs are adopted.
This can only happen if we conceptualize and implement programs shifting from a short-run emergency response to a long-term sustainability response with an emphasis on social justice. This shift must address the key determinants of vulnerability in order to change the trajectory of AIDS.
The conference was organized by the International AIDS Society and is said to reflect the ongoing progress being made in the scientific world toward HIV/AIDS prevention, cure and treatment, as well as optimism regarding the falling rates of new HIV infections worldwide. The 7th Nature Island Literary Festival and Book Fair 2014 will open with the performance of the 1976 hit play The Ruler on Friday, August 8th. The original novel was written by G.C.H. Thomas and titled Ruler in Hirona. The play is a modification of the book by local playwright Alwyn Bully, set on the fictitious Caribbean island of Hirona, and tells the story of the rise and fall of a political leader in the 1950s. The play, which has been performed to sold-out audiences in Dominica, St. Vincent, Barbados, Jamaica, and Antigua and Barbuda, was recently selected to be translated in 5 languages by the French company Lot Soufflé. Audiences can look forward to performances from some original cast members, including Gary Didier, Lennox Honeychurch, Michael Bruni, Cyprien Mackenzie, John Toussaint, Ingrid Angle, Noreen Joseph, Athlin James, to name a few. The play, also directed by Alwyn Bully, opens at the Arak House of Culture on Friday, August 8th from 7 p.m. with follow-up performances on August 15th and 16th at 8 p.m. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.
Never really thought that I would get to this today. say, but got this feeling and I'm feeling all the things I wanna show. I put it in a song to let you know. I think